What's going on, everyone? So welcome back to the channel. There is an interesting report that was released by the Government Accountability Office recently. That was posted on December of 2024. It was a report to the Committee on Armed Services in the House of Representatives. To give you an idea of what the Government Accountability Office does, the Government Accountability Office provides Congress and the heads of executive agencies and the public with timely, fact-based, nonpartisan information that can be used to improve government and save taxpayers billions of dollars. Their work is done at the request of congressional committees or subcommittees or statutorily required by public laws or committee reports per their congressional protocols. Apparently, the Government Accountability Office has been around for 100 years. In 2021, they celebrated their 100-year anniversary, being a source of objective, nonpartisan information on government operations. They play a key role in helping Congress improve the performance on government, ensuring transparency, and saving money. So just to give you a brief overview of what the Government Accountability Office does. The report is GAO TAC 25-106728, and it was posted on December 2024 on a public government website so that you can view it yourself if you want to. I'll include it in the link in description so you can view the report yourself if you want to watch it or read it after this video is over. So this particular report is called Amphibious War Fleet, that the Navy needs to complete key efforts to better ensure ships are available for Marines, ships that can take Marines ship to shore. The first thing is, it says, why did the GAO do this study? It's the Navy maintains a fleet of large amphibious warfare ships that are used primarily for Marine Corps missions, such as amphibious assault and humanitarian response. There are currently 32 warfare ships in this fleet, one more than the minimum the Navy is statutorily required to maintain. In House Report 117397, it includes a provision for the Government Accountability Office to review plans for the amphibious warfare fleet. The GAO's report examines the extent to which the Navy and Marine Corps are addressing challenges with fleet availability, and the Navy has addressed maintenance challenges. And 3, the Navy is positioned to meet its fleet size requirements into the future. The Government Accountability Office reviewed Navy and Marine Corps documentation and interviewed officials responsible for overseeing fleet availability, maintenance, and new ship acquisition plans. The Government Accountability Office also visited 6 different ships and spoke with officers and crews about maintenance issues. They had 4 recommendations, including that the Navy use metrics to define amphibious ship availability goals and updates to its policy to clarify that it should not cancel maintenance when divesting ships before completing the waiver process. The Navy concurred with 3 of the 4 recommendations. The Navy partially concurred with updating its policy, but noted actions it will take to address the recommendation. Now, what the Government Accountability Office found. Amphibious warfare ships are critical for Marine Corps missions, but the Navy has struggled to ensure that they are available for operations and training. In some cases, the ships available amphibious fleet have not been available for years at a time, meaning that there are years gapped when those ships are actually ready and available to use. The Navy and Marine Corps are working to agree on a ship availability goal, but have yet to complete a metrics-based analysis to support such a goal. Until the Navy completes this analysis, risks jeopardizing its ability to align amphibious ship schedules with the Marine Corps units that deploy on them, meaning that the ships that are needed to support Marine Corps missions are not available due to whatever reasons, whether that be maintenance or they're just not ready to be used. They're not ready to be used for deployments. As of March 2024, half of the amphibious fleet is in poor condition and these ships are not on track to meet their expected service lives. Half. That's pretty big. So if you look at this little chart they have, it says satisfactory material condition and poor material condition. Now you can see the amphibious assault ship 2 meets satisfactory material condition. And I guess there must only be 2. And then LHDs, amphibious assault ship multi-purpose, it looks like 5 out of the 7 are actually meeting the material condition that is satisfactory. Then LPDs, amphibious transport docks, 2 out of the 13 are meeting satisfactory material condition. And then the LSDs, dock landing ships, only 1 out of 10 of those are meeting the satisfactory material conditions. The Government Accountability Office identified factors that contributed to the fleet's poor condition and reduced its availability for Marine Corps operations and training. For example, the Navy faces challenges with spare parts, reliability of ship systems, and canceled maintenance. The Government Accountability Office found that the Navy canceled maintenance for aging amphibious ships it planned to divest before completing the required waiver process. Navy officials also said that they no longer plan to cancel maintenance prior to completing the process, but the Navy has yet to update its maintenance policy to reflect that decision. Updating the policy would help ensure Navy ships that they plan to divest do not miss maintenance if Congress restricts funds for the divestment. The Navy is likely to face difficulties meeting a statutory requirement to have at least 31 amphibious ships in the future, given the age of many of the ships and other factors. The Navy's also considering extending the service life for some ships to meet the 31 ship requirement. However, these efforts will require up to $1 billion per ship, according to the Navy, with 6 ships needing service life extensions in the next 3 decades amid rising ship construction costs and maintenance backlogs. Now, dated December 3rd, 2024, the Honorable Mike Rogers, Chairman, the Honorable Mike Adam Smith, Ranking Member, Committee on Armed Services, House of Representatives, put this out. The Navy maintains a fleet of large amphibious warfare ships that are critical for Marine Corps missions such as amphibious assault, emergency evacuation, and humanitarian response, among many others. In recent years, the Navy repeatedly proposed reducing the size of the amphibious fleet below the Marine Corps stated requirements. In response, Congress added provisions to the National Defense Authorization Acts for fiscal years 2023 and 2024, requiring the Navy to maintain a force of 31 operational amphibious warfare ships and to provide semi-annual briefings to Congress on the status of these ships, respectively. The Navy currently has 32 amphibious warfare ships in its fleet, which is consistent with statutory requirements. However, despite the current fleet size, maintenance and sustainment challenges have beleaguered fleet availability in recent years. The Navy refers to the ability of a ship to conduct training or operations as ship availability, meaning that if that ship is down for maintenance, it is not available. So that's a problem, because if there's a deployment that's needed and there aren't any ships available to be provided to that deployment or provided to that, Marine Expeditionary Unit or whatever it is, that deployment can't happen because they need to be able to get Marines shipped ashore, whether it's just, a training deployment or training exercises or an actual kinetic deployment. We've previously reported on Navy-wide maintenance challenges and sustainment issues affecting availability of amphibious warfare ships, including substantial amounts of deferred and delayed maintenance. In House Report 117 TAC 397, accompanying a bill for the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2023, includes a provision for us to review the Navy and Marine Corps' plans for the amphibious warfare fleet. Our report examines the extent to which the Navy Marine Corps are working to address amphibious fleet availability for operations and training. The Navy faces maintenance and sustainment challenges affecting the amphibious warfare fleet and is working to address them, and the Navy is positioned to meet statutory fleet size requirements into the future. To assess fleet availability, we analyzed the Navy and Marine Corps documentation, spoke with Navy and Marine Corps officials, examined Navy and Marine Corps operational readiness assessments, and reviewed Navy and Marine Corps efforts to reach consensus. To determine the extent of ship maintenance and sustainment challenges, they assessed the material condition of the amphibious fleet and evaluated the Navy's response to known challenges and how the Navy manages major maintenance periods. They visited 6 amphibious warships at Naval Station Norfolk and Naval Base San Diego to see firsthand maintenance issues affecting amphibious warfare ships. To determine how the Navy is positioned to meet statutory fleet size requirements into the future, they reviewed initial plans for these efforts, identified special acquisition authorities, and assessed the Navy's use of those authorities. Now, the ships that are currently in the Navy's amphibious warfare fleet as of September 2024 are 2 LHAs, amphibious assault ships, which is the newest class of amphibious assault ship designed to carry Marine Expeditionary Units, including helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft, and to operate alongside other amphibious warfare ships in amphibious ready groups. The next one is LHDs. There's 7 of them, amphibious assault ships. It's an older class of amphibious assault ships that are designed to carry Marine Expeditionary Units, including helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft, and to operate alongside amphibious warfare ships in amphibious ready groups, like ARG-Muse, like the Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is essentially when Marines are deployed on ship. The next one is the LPD Amphibious Transport Dock, which there's 13 of them. The newest class of dock ships that are designed to transport Marines and their equipment and to allow them to land with helicopters, landing craft, and other amphibious vehicles. The Navy, who also uses LPDs for missions unrelated to Marine Corps amphibious operations, such as NASA spacecraft missions. And then the last one is the LSD Dock Landing Ship, which there's 10 of, which is an older class of dock ships designed to transport Marines and their equipment and to allow them to land with helicopters, landing craft, and amphibious vehicles. Now, the amphibious warfare fleet is divided into 3 home port locations. One is Norfolk or Little Creek, Virginia. The next one is San Diego, California, and then Sasebo, Japan. And then you can see which amphibious ships, amphibious assault ships, or dock landing ships, and where they're located based on the map. Now, an amphibious operation is a military operation launched from the sea by an amphibious force embarked in ships or craft. This operation has the primary purpose of introducing a landing force ashore to accomplish an assigned mission, meaning bringing Marines' ship to shore. An amphibious force is comprised of an amphibious task force and a landing force together with other forces, such as aviation units that are trained, organized, and equipped for amphibious operations. The amphibious task force is typically a group of 3 Navy amphibious ships, most frequently deployed together as an amphibious ready group, an ARG. MAG. The landing group is a Marine Air Ground Task Force which includes certain elements such as command, aviation, ground, and logistics, embarked upon the Navy's amphibious ships. A Marine Expeditionary Unit is the most commonly deployed Marine Air Ground Task Force, which is what I was talking about. Whenever the Marines deploy on ship, it is on a MEU, or a Marine Expeditionary Unit. And those are the ones that basically they get on ship, they go to different locations, and they just rotate around as basically a expeditionary force in readiness to be prepared to react to a situation quickly if there are contingencies that get tripped. Like if all of a sudden there's a humanitarian disaster that, America needs to respond to, or something else that happens where America needs to respond to quickly. Now, Navy ship maintenance, which is probably the most important part of this entire video, because that's like what determines whether or not these ships are available for Marines to have to be able to use and operate on. The level of complexity of ship repair, maintenance, and modernization can affect the length of a maintenance period. These periods can range from 6 months to about 3 years or more, complex and involved maintenance and modernization. Privately owned shipyards perform depot-level maintenance for the amphibious fleet. These maintenance periods can include major repair, overhaul, or the complete rebuilding of systems needed for ships to reach their expected service lives. They also involve complex structural, hull, mechanical, and electrical repairs. Depot maintenance periods can include ship overhaul efforts that involve major modernization work to ensure ships remain relevant in the warfare environment. That type of work, maintenance or modernization, is identified through the type of funding the Navy uses. The Navy generally schedules depot maintenance periods every 2 to 3 years for surface ships. Ships in depot level maintenance are not available for missions, meaning that those ships are not available for deployments. Now, intermediate maintenance periods occur between depot maintenance periods and have a higher frequency and much shorter duration. The Navy typically schedules 6-week intermediate maintenance periods each quarter a surface ship is not deployed. Because the Navy schedules intermediate maintenance periods more frequently and for much shorter durations, maintenance providers tend to complete fewer and less complex jobs during those maintenance periods. The Navy also considers intermediate maintenance periods scheduling and duration to be more flexible than depot maintenance periods. According to Navy officials, the Navy considers a ship undergoing an intermediate maintenance period to be capable of stopping maintenance work and getting underway within 4 days to perform a mission. Because of this, ships in an intermediate maintenance period can be considered available for missions within 4 days. Several Navy commands have responsibilities for sustainment of the Navy ships. You've got the Office of Chief Naval Operations, the OPNAV, which is responsible to the Secretary of the Navy for the command, utilization of resources, and operating efficiency of Navy forces and of the Navy's support activities. For example, OPNAV identifies the sustainment, maintenance, and support funding needed to meet Navy objectives relating to equipping and ensuring the operational readiness of forces. The Board of Inspection and Survey, which is an independent organization that conducts material inspections of all Navy ships, reports to the Chief of Naval Operations and the Commander, U.S. Fleet Forces Command. The next is Naval Sea Systems Command, or NAVSEA, which is responsible for managing critical modernization efforts and overseeing maintenance, among other things. Specifically, the Regional Maintenance Centers, or the RMCs, within the NAVSEA, which are co-located with the Navy ports and are tasked with executing and overseeing maintenance operations. Additionally, NAVSEA's Service Maintenance Engineering Planning Program is tasked with providing centralized service ship lifecycle maintenance engineering, class maintenance and modernization planning, and management of maintenance strategies. The next is Naval Surface Warfare Centers, or NSWs. The Naval Surface Warfare Centers are responsible for installing equipment from other Navy program offices such as networks, radars, and communication systems as part of ship modernization efforts. They refer to the contractor teams that perform such work as modernization teams, which means that there are ships that need to have old tech removed and replaced with newer, more up-to-date technology so that way they are ready to be deployed and ready for being used. They have to swap them out using Naval Surface Warfare Centers. The last is Type Commands, or TICOM. The Navy TICOMs for the Surface Fleet Commander, Naval Surface Force U.S. Atlantic Fleet, and Commander Naval Surface Force U.S. Pacific Fleet are responsible for ship crew maintenance, training, and the readiness of the ships assigned to each fleet. The TICOMs have a critical role for developing and updating the Joint Fleet Maintenance Manual, which establishes a unified set of maintenance requirements. Now, the Navy Marine Corps are disagreeing on the required number of available ships to conduct operations and training. Like, while they may be partnered because the Navy Marine Corps have to work together to complete their missions, they have different ways of viewing what needs to be done and like how many ships need to be available for them to be able to complete missions. Now, ships within the amphibious warfare fleet are sometimes unavailable for years at a time, especially if they're in depot level maintenance where they're pulled away for potentially up to 3 years. And the Navy has experienced significant schedule disruptions. In recent years, the Navy and Marine Corps have disagreed on the number of ships that should be available at any given time to conduct operations and training. The services have established an analytical process to further develop ship availability definitions and targets, but the definitions may require further refinement. Additionally, the process does not have a time frame for completion or implementation and risks not resulting in a specific number of ships that the Navy needs to make available to conduct training and operations at any given time. One of the more important things that they found is that insufficient amphibious warfare ship availability hinders the Marine Corps' operations and training, which means that it hinders the Marine Corps' ability to execute missions and orders if they are tasked with doing a certain thing from the government. Maintaining the statutorily required fleet size of 31 ships does not indicate the capability of those ships to deploy or conduct training. In some cases, ships within the amphibious warfare fleet have not been available to support the Marine Corps operations and training for years at a time. We can see why that's a problem. Now, Marine Corps documentation shows that between 2011 and 2020, amphibious warfare ships were only available for operational tasking 46% of the time. Less than half the time they were actually ready to be used for operational requirements. That's not good. That's a problem. Even though the Navy's operational schedule, referred to as the Optimized Fleet Response Plan, notionally expects these ships to be available for operational tasking 50% of the time, which is still, that's a low ball, it seems. I don't know. I mean, I know that it's a huge thing. It's a huge scale. Thinking about like repairing and maintaining that many ships that require millions and billions of dollars in equipment and maintenance and man hours to perform that maintenance. Like, that's a lot, right? 50% of the time is like the bare minimum. At least 2 amphibious ready groups / Marine Expeditionary Units experienced operational challenges in 2024, and that these included delayed deployments and missed exercises due to lack of available ships, according to Navy documentation. That's huge because, like, what if there's an emergency, right? Like, if you miss training, okay, you can reschedule it, but if there's something that's an emergency that's like they need to react now, they need the ships now. They need the ships yesterday, because a lot of the time, like, these huge operations that are planned months and sometimes years in advance. Now, I'm sure by now you get the point. There are some serious problems with maintenance issues with the Navy's amphibious fleet. Now, I'm going to go ahead and skip to the conclusion of this thing because I think you guys understand at this point. If you want to read the entire report, I'm going to put it in the link in the description so you can read it yourself at your own leisure. The point of this whole thing is their conclusion was that the Navy's amphibious fleet is the linchpin of the Marine Corps' amphibious warfare training and operations. However, the fleet suffers from poor availability that has negatively affected training and operations. Absent establishing timeframes for completion of a Navy and Marine Corps agreement on the number of amphibious ships that should be available at a given time, with objective and measurable metrics to guide it, the services will be at continued risk of late or disaggregated Marine deployments. Further, more poor material condition of the ships and delays in their maintenance has negatively impacted availability of the amphibious fleet. Decisions in recent years to divest ships before reaching the end of their expected service lives and prior to completing a waiver process involving submitting a certification to congressional defense committees triggered decisions to forego critical maintenance and worsen the condition of those ships. Clarifying policy on when it's appropriate to cancel maintenance on amphibious ships proposed for divestment will enhance the Navy's ability to manage competing budget priorities. Moreover, the Navy has not yet implemented the recommendations from its May 2023 review to address the wide range of maintenance problems affecting readiness to the amphibious fleet. Establishing performance measures to guide improvements to amphibious ship maintenance challenges identified in its May 2023 and April 2024 reviews will help the Navy improve amphibious ship readiness outcomes. Now, the GAO is making 4 recommendations to the Department of the Navy. The Secretary of the Navy, in coordination with the Commandant of the Marine Corps, should refine definitions related to amphibious warfare ship availability to include specific and measurable terms. Next recommendation is that the Secretary of the Navy, in coordination with the Commandant of the Marine Corps, should establish a time frame for completing and implementing their ongoing joint plan to address ship availability concerns and ensure that the analysis results in a specific number of amphibious warfare ships that the Navy and Marine Corps require to be available any given time. Their third recommendation is the Secretary of the Navy should ensure that the Chief of Naval Operations updates the Navy's amphibious ship depot maintenance policy to clarify that absent operational needs, the Navy should not cancel depot maintenance for amphibious ships proposed for divestment that have yet to reach the end of their expected service life prior to providing the requisite certification to the Congressional Defense Committees and completing the divestment waiver process. And then their last recommendation is that the Secretary of the Navy should ensure that the Chief of Naval Operations establishes performance goals with tangible, measurable objectives and associated timeframes that can be used to measure progress for implementing the recommendations identified in the May 2023 Amphibious Readiness Review, and when completed, for implementing recommendations resulting from the Navy's April 2024 review. Now, they said that they provided a draft of this report to the Navy for review and comment, and that the Navy provided an official official comment letter noting concurrence with 3 of our recommendations and partial concurrence with 1 of them. The Navy also provided technical comments, which they incorporated as appropriate. The Navy partially concurred with their 3rd recommendation to modify the Navy's maintenance policy to keep scheduled depot maintenance for amphibious ships proposed for divestment. The Navy said that 10 USC 2244 Alpha prohibition on modifying vessels the Secretary plans to retire prevents it from fully implementing the recommendation. However, the Navy also said in its response that it will schedule maintenance, including depot level repair, as necessary to maintain such ships in operational condition. The Navy also noted that the Secretary may waive 10 USC 2244 Alpha prohibition when ship modification is in the interest of national security, which includes additional maintenance and modernization efforts when the Navy plans operational employment for a ship. We're going to send copies of this report to the appropriate congressional committees and other interested parties, including the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of the Navy. In addition, the report is available at no charge on the Government Accountability Office website. Now, at the time when this was released, I know that the previous Secretary of Defense was still in office. I don't know if the current Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, has seen this or not, but if he hasn't, you guys need to make sure he does. So send it to him or tell somebody to send it to him, because this is a high priority. I know he's tracking on our naval situation with maintenance and shipbuilding and a lot of stuff because he's talked about it. And he's also talked about prioritizing war fighting for the military a lot of times across the globe. I've seen him talking about war fighting being the primary focus of the Defense Department now. So I think this is important for readiness of the Marine Corps and readiness of the Navy, so that way deployments and scheduled deployments are not interrupted and training evolutions can happen whenever they're supposed to in a timely manner, and that maintaining ships happens in a timely manner. It's a very complicated situation, far beyond my brain to comprehend, but it is important for everybody to have an understanding of this because it has a direct impact on our military's readiness, specifically our Navy and Marine Corps amphibious readiness. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to read this report, I'll put it in the link in the description, and hopefully this will get to the right people who need to see it. Until next time.